welcome. On this video, I want to do a follow-up by way of the podcast, part 2, by way of Jack Morton coming on, talking about his incredible journey with Kaiser. And again, I would encourage you, if you haven't already seen this podcast, I encourage you to check it out by way of both part 1 and part 2. Again, Jack discusses his journey with Kaiser, okay, being a over-the-top, extreme case of dog aggression. And in fact, again, I talk about, how this Kaiser is the most extreme aggressive dog case I've ever encountered in all the years. And so, but again, with by way of Jack's, journey, and him again talking through it, again showing that, again, just like going through the fire, okay, talk about rising from the ashes, so to speak, when it comes to coming out on the other side, being able to reverse course, being able to affect change. Again, this is why I talk about what a process is. I talk about the core ingredients by way of control and influence, how those align with a intentional interaction-based method. Understand it's very specific to change. And so again, this is where, again, you get into these extreme cases, okay, and it really exposes the underbelly of this very popular idea that trains a learning-based exercise. Again, this is why, again, pay attention, because you see a lot of these trainers out there, they will write off the relationship by way of, well, you just can't affect change with some dogs, like overcoming aggression, for example. You always see that blame shifting part of how it's presented, okay? And so again, when I talk about, again, Jack's story, now here's the thing. There's some really great moments of kind of clarity by way of Jack kind of going through it. Again, he talks about, prior to coming to me for help, where Kaiser actually bit both balanced and force-free dog trainers, okay? No, but not seriously enough, okay, to cause, Kaiser to kind of lose all hope in the situation. Because understand, when things are, again, that's the problem, is when things, present themselves as a certain bite situation. Well, guess what? It's that's a major problem. But in this situation here, some bites happened, okay, but again, the interesting thing, okay, when he's talking about those situations with Kaiser, showing aggression by way of other trainers. Very interesting how he described, okay, as treats were presented, okay. Again, understand the whole dog training world is based on, you see balanced dog trainers doing the same thing, using motivating agents. How it is that Kaiser became very, amped up, okay, as Jack described it, very sketchy, and knowing, okay, Jack knowing, okay, this is not going to go down well, okay, this is not, he could tell from Kaiser's, demeanor. And again, understand this plays into, I want to talk about this, okay, this plays in this whole thing about mind and body, okay. I talk about this thing about the disconnect in the dog training world by way of connecting those dots, okay, in terms of relationship that way, dialed into the relationship by way of a dog's state of mind. But Jack could see it, okay, even in that moment, just before a bite happened, to say this isn't a good situation. But what I would encourage people to think about, okay, is this whole thing about, okay, you're in the middle of a relationship problem, okay, dog's already gained a high level of control in the relationship, and it's manifesting, okay. So I talk about, express states, okay, the stinking thinking, the issue of stinking thinking. And so you pull out the treats, right, and again, the question to ask is to do what exactly, okay? Understand it's all about the physical, okay, just trying to get a dog to do a sit down, come and stay, to respond certain ways. But again, talk about, okay, well, really think about that. Well, if it's about dog gaining control, well, then shouldn't control be part of the process to reverse course? Like understand that when you start to really think about this stuff, it's like saying, well, depth of relationship. But here's the thing, again, this is why I talk about lining this up with a parenting example. Consider, It's no different than dealing with a very, very selfish child, okay, that is, say, over invested in video games, okay, they're kind of poured into that. That's where they get to really kind of engage and, you know, express their selfishness in certain ways. But consider jumping in the same way. I think about the whole Kaiser example, and then, you know, okay, what is the process once a child's become very selfish? Is it a intervention, or is it a learning-based exercise, the way these trainers are doing it, where they're approaching it? And then consider the selfish child, the moment that you pull out, you know, a brand new video game, okay, that they haven't played before, they want it. But think about how sketchy things would get, okay, with a child. Like, talk about amped up. Talk about just totally focused on, okay, I want that. But again, consider what a process is, you know, in terms of the role of the parent. You know, I talk about, you know, demand. I talk about parental influence, you know, how it's defined, how it's established. Certain moments in the relationship with a parent-child interplay, interpersonal relationship that reveal, like the example I use, you know, pick up your toys, you know, because you're the parent, okay? And, you know, versus here's $100, right? But think about that whole context of, again, getting sketchy, you know, amped up, you know, within the context of, you know, you're in the middle of a relationship problem. And so, you know, the whole thing about how things go off the rails, especially, I mean, think about the moments of, again, when people are petting on an aggressive dog. You know, I talk about that, you know, what that represents, you know, empowerment, you know, the whole thing about, again, certain reactions. But again, you know, understand the whole dog training world is not based on, you know, critical thinking, okay? It's not based on, you know, context. It's not based on depth, okay? It's all based on appearances. So again, I'll say that again, when you think about, you know, Jack could see it, okay? He knew he could, at that moment in time, you know, he was not completely dialed into, you know, he was not completely dialed into mind and body at a certain level, but he was already, because he already kind of knew. He said, this ain't good, okay? He already, again, was at that level of dealing with what I call the 1 percentile dog, right? So again, all stuff to think about. I would really encourage people to think about, again, and this is where, again, another moment Jack brought up is, again, talk about mind and body, was about, you know, even appearances, you know, engaging that way using, again, motivating agents, all about just at the physical level. And if you watch these dogs, you'll see that they're like, you know, even though they're going into a physical sit, and that came out during, again, when I was talking about Miracle Canine, you know, when I was looking at their content as part of my Flipping the Script series, it's very clear. I mean, anyone who has discernment, okay, if you're looking at, again, the physical part of it, and Miracle Canine coming right out and admitting, we don't care about who the dog's looking, because they're not dialed in that way. You know, it's about the physical, right? But you see these dogs, again, you know, control manifesting, the fixation level. See, there's no baseline there for these trainers to even figure any of that out, because they're following a totally different process. Okay, it's all based on appearances. It's not based on connecting dots that way through both, not just body but mind. And then to go further with that, to say, okay, what is the role of influence? You know, I talk about, again, intercepting, you know, versus changing focus. Okay, but again, you know, so when you talk about, you know, you see these dogs, their heads are pivoting like on a swivel, and they're investing, and then there's a moment in Miracle Canine where it's like, okay, get your dog into a down. Well, you can tell that wasn't going to happen, okay, because control was already manifesting. But here's the thing, you go through my Flipping the Script series, and you'll see all sorts of examples of that. But here's the truth of everything. Understand, this is the thing, is that, and I'll talk about this on another video, how it is that, you know, balanced force trainers have the home field advantage, okay, by way of what this idea represents. So again, I would encourage you, again, check out the podcast. You know, Jack, very insightful, coming from perspective of a dog owner who has been through it all. Okay, he's been through the other side of force-free, balanced, looking for answers. Okay, and very honest. Okay, with his with his perceptions. Because understand these podcasts make it very, it's not about pumping me up. Okay, understand this is when I bring people on, and I say this even before the podcast, is like, just focus on your journey. You know, I mean, you know, I don't market myself that way to have people have to, let's just say, talk about your journey so that it's helpful, so other people can see that and say, hey, I'm in the middle of it, or, you know, I've experienced it. You know, it's helpful because it gives people, again, being able to connect those dots, say, hey, I can see that. So again, my encouragement is, again, there's some really great, what I call gems in those in that podcast. Again, part 1, part 2. You know, and even for me, you know, I'm listening to it from the other side of, you know, of a dog owner experiencing reversing course with a dog like Kaiser. Amazing journey. Again, I encourage you to watch the podcast, but again, consider, even when he said about certain moments of, you know, of the treats coming out, right? You know, I mean, just think about it. It is about relationship. It's about understanding of tying it in. It's not just about the physical, okay? It's relational. It's mind as well, state of mind of the dog. Thanks for watching.